Imagine this. It's third period, you just finished lunch, and you're on your way to English class when you get a text from your mom asking if you want to go to South Africa for her birthday. Now, for most teenagers, this would have been a no-brainer. But for an international baccalaureate student with dreams of getting into Pepperdine, this took deep considerations, being that I would have to miss 5 days of school. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the International Baccalaureate Program, or IB, IB is a rigorous 2-year program where students are required to take all IB classes for their junior and senior year. And at the end of their senior year, they're required to submit internal assessments to, to show what they have learned in the IB program. The IB program is an international curriculum that challenges the standard approach to education. And with just my luck, these internal assessments just so happen to be due the same week as my mom's birthday. So with only 2 days to decide, I frantically weighed the pros and cons of both my options. I could stay in Atlanta so I wouldn't miss school, or I could go on an adventure of a lifetime with my mom. So I chose the adventure, and it was. I packed my bags and I sent my teachers an email that read, I just came down with the worst case of food poisoning, and I'll be missing a few days of school. I'll make sure to turn in all my assignments online, and I'll be checking my email constantly. Thank you in advance. So the next day, I packed my bags and I headed to the airport. We landed in Johannesburg, South Africa, and hit the ground running. Going to South Africa was one of the greatest learning experiences of my life. I got the chance to go to the Global Citizen Music Festival, which is a festival held in Africa each year to raise money for issues in Africa in honor of Nelson Mandela. Donators and performers included Beyonce, Pharrell, Jay-Z, Beyonce. It was amazing. And not only that, but we were in a suite with dozens of Africans from all over the world. I got the opportunity to talk to them about what's actually going on in their home countries and the different countries where they lived in now. It was eye-opening. I got to experience the world through a different perspective, one which I don't think the world respects enough yet. Now, while in the suite, I was also called a colored person for the first time. At first, I was shocked, but then I was intrigued with the state of the social climate in South Africa, especially because I was called a colored person by a black person. So I asked one of our family friends who's a native of South Africa, and she explained to me that colored is a term used to refer to black people who are A, obviously not from Africa, or B, of lighter skin complexion. So instead of getting angry or upset, I was grateful for the learning experience. However, after the festival, I learned more than I would like to have about South Africa. South Africa's lack of infrastructure made it impossible for people to leave. 2,000 people were released outside of the festival with no protection, no security, and limited access to transportation. People were getting robbed, grabbed, and snatched outside of the festival. And in order to get home, we had to get in a random Uber and convince him to take us to our hotel instead of his intended passenger. And if I've learned anything from this trip, it's that African Ubers love US money. So we offered him 100 US dollars, which converted to about $1,500 in South African rand. So we made it home safe. And the next morning, we decided to go on a safari to see all of the wildlife that Africa has offered. However, in order to go on this tour, we were required to have a car to drive through the safari. So instead of giving up, we decided to test our luck a little bit. We ordered an Uber to the safari, and on the way to the safari, we convinced our Uber driver to go on the safari with us, and we'd take him out to lunch and pay him in cash after. So that's exactly what happened. When we got to the safari, we got to see all kind of amazing animals. We got to see lions and zebras and hyenas. And after the safari, we got a chance to get out of the car and play with baby cubs and cheetahs. And now after the safari, we spent the rest of the trip exploring and learning about the history of South Africa. We shopped, we ate, and we headed back to Atlanta. Now, we landed in Atlanta on a Thursday around 7:30 a.m. Temperature-wise, it was an average day for early December, freezing cold and raining. I remember sitting in the back of the Uber, leaving the airport on my way home, when I heard my mom say, I don't want to be cold on my birthday tomorrow. Her birthday was on that Friday. And I remember thinking in my head, we just left Africa, but whatever, mom. So since we got back early enough, I decided to go to school to pick up the assignments that I had left. To my surprise, I had barely missed anything but a few assignments. And on my way home, I was blasting Future, like I usually do, when I got a text from my mom saying, I'm booking tickets to Jamaica tomorrow morning. Are you coming? And there I was, having deja vu again. There I was again, frantically weighing my options. So then I thought, I missed 5 days of school and only missed a few assignments. So what's 2 more days? So I packed my Bob Marley shirt and headed back to the airport the next morning. Now, even though we only spent the weekend, I got to see some of the most beautiful places in the world. I got to go ziplining through the Jamaican jungle and tubing through all of Jamaica's rivers. Jamaica was filled with some of the happiest people that I'd ever met, and it was there where I discovered that you can't control anything in this world but your own happiness. And it was in that moment that I landed back in Atlanta for the last time that I decided I was more than just a student in the classroom. I was a student, and the world was my classroom. If you ask me what assignments I missed over my travels, or even when I returned, I wouldn't be able to tell you to save my life. However, if you ask me about the food, culture, people, or political or social state of South Africa or Jamaica, then we could talk. I can honestly, without a doubt, say that I learned more than I would have ever learned in the classroom. And from December forward, I have never missed an opportunity to go and see the world or ignored my mom's text. Thank you.